Hello Transformers fans, it's your boy James, the Con, here with a review of a figure that I've been very, very excited for, and that is Antagony. So I've always wanted an Antagony since I first saw the BotCon figure back in, I don't know, 2010 or so on TF Wiki. I thought it was one of the coolest things. I remember the Inferno mold when I was a kid, so I'm very, very, very excited to have this in hand. Now before we talk about the figure itself, I'm gonna a little bit of tattletelling on myself. I did buy 3 of this figure just because it's really cool and on my wife's insistence. So before we get into her, I did want to show how it was packaged because I thought this was pretty cool. It's actually in like a coffin. So where they added this flap so nothing moves around and it just comes out. It's actually pretty well in there. Like this, and then you can access the figure kind of like a book. So I thought this was pretty cool. It helps the figure itself not get damaged, and I don't know why they don't do this more with their cardboard packaging without any plastic. So now that that's out of the way, let me go ahead and transform this one into ant mode, and I will be right back. Alright, so let's talk about this ant mode really quick. So it is really nice. They did a great job with this purple back here, if you want to see this magenta. It is really shiny. I don't know if that's coming up in the camera. It looks like it is. So this looks really nice. I love that they made the pincers this lavender color. These eyes are really reflective, and they just look nice. They shine. Everything is a solid black, but as you can see, I don't know if that's the molding that they did, but it is kind of shiny, which I actually quite like. It looks like a carapace of a bug. So the only thing that's a little annoying are these legs are a little hard to position, so they're all on the ground. Like, it takes a little bit of fiddling to figure out what angle they're supposed to be at, because there is a specific angle. I wish they had joints in here so you could kind of, you know, have her crawling around all crazy like, but I understand that would be more of a masterpiece level. So for articulation, the head can go up and down slightly. I think that's good enough. Honestly, side to side would have been nice, but again, I don't expect that on this figure. And this can go up and down, but I'm pretty sure that's just for transformation, but it still looks kind of cool. So that is the bug mode. For comparison, I don't have Inferno transformed, but let's just look at it with a few of the figures that you might be able to find on the shelves. We've got Toxitron Jazz right here, and Toxitron Collection Mirage. So as you can see, it's actually fairly large for a Transformer, especially a Voyager class Transformer. It's high. I know that's not a lot there, but it is high, and it is quite long. Oh, there you go. Quite long. So I quite enjoy this alt mode. It looks great. It's very realistic. I'm glad they went with the realistic alt mode instead of more of a toon accurate one. I think it's really cool. And if you wanted to know, for weapon storage, this is her gun, which we'll get into in a bit with robot mode, but it just fits right on top. But it is kind of at like a downward angle, which I'm not fond of. Honestly, I wish there was a way that this could just peg down here or something. Or like this. Like, that would be fine, in my opinion, just to get it away, but you can't. I know there are some third-party add-ons where you flip these legs right here up, and then you keep this stored in there, which, again, would be nice, but it would really take away from this insect alt mode. And I guess the only other thing are these feet. I wish those collapsed a little bit more, but from the top, it's barely noticeable, so I give it a pass. So let's move on to robot mode. All right, so here we have Antagony in robot mode. So let's get into this. First of all, just like Inferno, this head sculpt is really cool. I love that you can open up the mouth, and you know, they even painted the silver down there. This thing looks great. It's a very nicely detailed figure. All of the same things are there. I like that they added this little silver, if you look right here, compared to the black. It's very subtle, but it really, really works, as well as a Predacon symbol, which I really enjoy. The waist is also in that same gunmetal, And what's really cool is on her butt jetpack, I guess you could call, they actually painted these yellow like vents. And I think the original one had that as well. And it's really cool because the Inferno is just one solid color. And what I like to do with these is, let's get it in focus. There we go. Is I like to give her this like little skirt thing. I think it looks really cool. I like to do this with Inferno too. It just makes it have just a little bit more life. I just wish it rotated with the waist. But beggars can be choosers. But the legs are very, very plain. It is a single black piece all the way down, except for the ankle, which is that lavender, which is probably just because it's in the same mold as the rest of the lavender pieces. So I wish they maybe would have done this fake bug leg in that gunmetal, or maybe some gunmetal up on the thigh. I think that would have looked really cool and would have really helped to bring it together. Honestly, I would have added some of this lavender that's on her head, just scattered throughout a little bit here or there, just to bring it more to life. All right, so the head just comes off really easily, and this one can go on, and let's put it on. All right, there we go. And there is the scavenger head. I think it looks actually pretty cool. Let's get it a little bit more in the center. So I think this thing is great. It's very well sculpted and really reminds me of the original scavenger toy that I loved as a kid. Now, I'm a little disappointed that it came with this figure just because I would want a scavenger figure. I know that's not going to happen, but I can wish. All right, let's go back to Antagony herself. So articulation is just like Inferno, but it has a very expressive head, and I liked that about Inferno, and I like that about this one. You cannot hate this. It's so cool. For the arms, they go about a little bit more than 90 degrees. And now this is cool because they have this little spike there, but it doesn't impede articulation. They actually did it below it, which when Hasbro wants to do articulation, they can. Moving some of these limbs out of the way, full 360. This can also go 360 if you wanted to. Full bend, like you cannot ask for more articulation. And the hands are on swivels. Now, this is another contention that I've always had with this mold. These hands are horrible. I don't know what they could have done, but I wish there was a third-party option out there to just update these hands. They don't need to be articulated, but they do need to have something more. I don't know, but, you know, I'll take what I can get. And right here, if you look, this molding actually tells you where this is supposed to go. So it's supposed to be more like that, and then it's in line. So I think that's pretty cool. And we'll get to some flaws about this figure in a little bit, but for now, we'll talk about articulation. Waist can't go all the way around. It goes about that far, which I think is good enough. I wish you were able to keep that ab crunch. If you've been watching our channel, you know I like ab crunches, so I wish that was there, but oh well. Let's just take this out of our hand. Hips could go all the way out. Can go all the, not all the way back, almost all the way back. She could do complete splits. And now her knees, so they go about that far, which is almost 90. But if you engage the transformation, you get all the range you would need. So I think these knees are fine. And then if you're standing up straight, you just click it in like I just did, and she could stand just fine. And then she has ankle tilts, and they can go back, even though if you see right here, this little black piece is not connected to it, so that might impede on some transformation. But now I guess that could also help with some articulation as well. So I already talked about the hands that I don't like. The only other thing is these arms get in the way a lot, but it does give a cool silhouette. It gives a very imposing silhouette, and I do quite like it. For these antennas, I never know which way they're supposed to be, so I usually keep them down at all times. I think that looks best in beast mode and in this mode, but they don't look bad going up as well, like she's gonna feel you. I think it's fine. So why don't we get into some comparisons? I have two up here for you. The first one is the most obvious, and that is her mold mate, Inferno. These two actually look really good together. If there wasn't a lore reason why I would be separating these, I would be putting these two together. I think they look great. You know, kind of like brother and sister, where he's the crazy one and she's more calm and collected. I don't know. Make your own headcanons. I know I do, but they look really cool together. But as you can see, he has a little bit more paint thrown throughout here. And I don't know if that was canceled on her because they did maybe the yellow down there on the second head. So maybe the budget was a little tight on this figure versus this one. But I would have liked a little bit more variety. But beggars can't be choosers. And lastly, if you want to include this in a multiverse, another Generation Select figure, here is Magnificus. Let's just move Inferno out of the way. And here's how they stack up, which is actually a rather tall deluxe. So these are two black Generation Select figures, and they do look good together as well if you're going to do some sort of Unicron bending, world-destroying story. So I would definitely recommend it. So now let's get to my final thoughts. All right, so what do I think of Antagony? I really like her. I like her in her ant mode. I like her in her bot mode. This is a really good figure, and it kind of shows when Hasbro can, they really push the boundaries and make a great figure. The Inferno mold was one of my favorites of, I think it was 2022 when that came out. So I already went in knowing I was going to like this figure, and then it's also a figure that I've always wanted. I remember seeing the BotCon Antagony at TFCon in LA for the first time I ever went to a TFCon, and it was $1,500, and I'm like, oh, I really want that, and I showed my wife. And that's why when this figure came out, she's like, you're gonna get multiple of them, because she wanted to, one, have one in the box, and two, for me to be happy with these. So I'm very thankful. Thank you. If she's watching this, which she probably did will. And I can't express how happy I am to have an Antagony in my collection, especially one this good. It's not a weird repaint of, you know, a Seeker or a Black Arachnia. It is who it is supposed to be. Now, I do wish we might have gotten a more comic accurate head instead of the scavenger head that came with it. This is cool and all, but I would have rather had this with the actual character itself. So, that being said, would I recommend her? Yes. Even if you're a G1 collector, I would say just get it. Have it be a random offshoot. It's a great figure, especially if you don't have Inferno. I would recommend this. So check back soon for some news. We'll go over it, and hopefully Hasbro will take another look at some old figures and make some really, really cool and good figures. It seems like they're lacking lately. All right, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.